that's the way we do it. Get you jumping just like gymnastics, make everybody feel fantastic. That's the way we do it, that's the way we do it. I'm not listening, we do it my way, my way, my way. I'm not listening to you.
With coming here then I made loads of friends and it's kind of brought me out of my shell. So being up here in the cabin has been like really nice, to have a second family that I can come to whenever I need help.
We offer a place that they can relax, record, make beats and hang out with friends and just get creative. One last time, energy, 1, 2, 3, go!
Anxiety kicking in, everything is bothering me. Most of the songs written in the cabin by the young adults and the teenagers have all a background of mental health involved in them. Because it's a big topic, it's a big issue, so there's never any judgment.
I do, I'm not listening to you.
This is To Be Honest from Indonesia, a project that we started in February 2020. The podcast aired at Spotify and YouTube. In the podcast, we try to encourage others by the vulnerability of public figures, friends, and experts. We are concerned about the mental health issues triggered by the effect of perfect life in social media. So through the stories that have been shared, we hope there are more people to relate to and share the same hardship in life. Some topics are about suicidal thought awareness, a story of resilience, self-worth, a story of grief, and many more. It's delightful to know that even one soul is saved by listening to our stories. Because we are all humans, and it's okay not to be okay sometimes. And we believe that being vulnerable brings new strength.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 6th EU-ASEAN Regional Youth Talk Show. My name is Trisa Triandesa and I am so happy to be here again today to be part of this very important discussion with Cynthia, Audia, Shafira, creator of To Be Honest podcast, and Dr. Jenny Elmaco, Regional Coordinator of the European Action Service for ASEAN. I'll be your host today, but I am not going to be alone. I am accompanied here by my co-host Dian Saputra, team leader of the Communication and Visibility for EU Cooperation ASEAN. Hi Dian.
Hello, Trisa. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. It's so good to be here today to talk about something that is very important, and I think it's still often overlooked. But before we delve, we'd really like to get started. But before we get started, we need to like to invite the new ambassador to ASEAN. We have here His Excellency Igor Driesmans to share his opening remarks.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Trisa. Good afternoon, Dian. I'm so happy to welcome you to the 6th EU-ASEAN Youth Talk Show. The topic we discuss today is very important. I have a very bad echo. I hope it's just me. All right. The topic we discussed today is very important because at the start of the pandemic, nearly 3 years ago, I think nobody could have predicted that our world would come to a halt the way it did, and for as long as it did. And as countries continue to struggle to curb the spread of COVID-19 with its repeated lockdowns, young people became some of the most severely affected, especially when it comes to their emotional well-being. And I think the pandemic affected young people's education, training, after-school activities, but also the contact with their peers and mobility opportunities. There was anxiety and frustration to find employment in an uncertain economy. There was loneliness and isolation when your movements have been limited for the past 2.5 years. And today we can see the impact of the pandemic on mental health of the youth in Europe and elsewhere. Numerous studies have shown the sharp increase in the rates of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicide attempts. And I have to tell you that over the last year, a conference on the future of Europe was organized in the EU to listen to the citizens on what they see as the main issues Europe should tackle with. And one of the priorities the citizens put forward was mental health. And yesterday, in our State of the Union, President von der Leyen announced a new initiative on mental health. And she said that for many who feel anxious and lost, appropriate, accessible, and affordable support can make all the difference. And I think what's true for Europe is true for many around the world. So your overall well-being, mentally and physically, matters. And with what I just said, I would like to ask you all a how are you doing question. So you can respond to me, to my question, by writing one word in the chat box. Just tell Dian, how are you doing today? Let me just stop here and see who responds. Come on, one word to say how you're doing today. Excited? Hopeful? Graceful? Grateful? Very good. Come on, just keep them coming. Survive. Wow. Happy? Happy is good. Fine. Courage. All right. Well, that's good to see. I think, let me just say that our objective this year was to honor young people by making 2022 as the European Year of Youth. And I think it's high time that we give back to a generation that has endured much hardship, shown so much solidarity, and lost so much during the pandemic, and hopefully also gained new resilience to face the difficulties and uncertainties and look at life with renewed optimism. So we aim to ensure that the opinions, views, and the needs of young people and youth organizations are seriously taken into account when defining the EU's youth and other policies. And that also goes for our cooperation with ASEAN. We're continuously working to support young people and provide the space for you to actively take part and have a say in decision making. Young people make up a third of the ASEAN region. You have an important role to play in deciding the future of this region to build a better future, greener, sustainable, more inclusive, and digital. So in these uncertain times, we believe that young people are the navigators of the future of our world. You're a group of talented future leaders, and we count on you to help us face today's unprecedented crisis. I'm very proud to see that the limitations imposed by the pandemic did not stop ASEAN's youth from being innovative, creative, and supporting not only each other, but the wider community. And last year, 2 young women from Indonesia became one of the 10 finalists in the ASEAN Youth Sustainable Project competition with their podcast project called To Be Honest. And they're here with us today. And I hope you can use this opportunity to exchange thoughts with them, share experiences, and have a good conversation. Academically, the shift to virtual learning for the past 2 years has not been easy for students of all levels. Dr. Jenny Elmaco from EURAXESS is also here with us today. Welcome, Jenny. And we'll share challenges the pandemic posed for those pursuing their higher studies and for young researchers. Lastly, I hope you all can use this forum as a safe space for sharing, for asking questions, and for supporting each other. So enjoy the discussion, and I already hope to see you again for the next talk show. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Igor. Before we continue, I would like to invite all our speakers to also join us on stage for a group photo. Because we have to start everything with a group photo, right?
Yay.
Absolutely.
Yay!
Okay, Risky, do you want to give us I'm just going to count, and then Risky on the back will take the picture. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
All right. Thank you, Igor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pa
Um,
Igor.
Thank you, Pak Igor.
to follow up on Pa Igor's question earlier about how everyone is doing, thank you everyone for dropping your comments on the chat box. But you can also click, I would also invite you to click on the Mentimeter tab on the screen on the right hand side of the stage. And then if you can just fill it out as you're listening to the rest of the talk show, that would be great. Because, again, as Igor said, this is going to be a safe space where we can just discuss how everyone is doing and hear from all of our great speakers. And also, Trisa is actually Trisa is also a neuroscientist. So he's not just your regular moderator, not your regular host, but we're also going to be tapping into his brain and his knowledge to also help discuss things from his expertise, right, Trisa?
Yes, I hope I can share a little bit about neuroscience.
This is not part of the TOR, but you're going to be.
I'm just gonna wing it.
You're going to be able to wing it. So, Trisa, how has the pandemic been for you? Has it also been hard for you?
Yeah, it was very hard for me, like what Pa Igor said about loneliness, depression, and anxiety. Those three really hit me hard, especially because I was studying, I was doing my master's here. I was alone without friends and family. So, and then the weather is not helping as well. It's quite cold here. So yeah, it was very hard for me to cope. But luckily, I think I was brave enough to admit that I'm not okay. So I reach out to a counselor, and then I get help from them. So it's very helpful. And I think that's just one piece of advice that I can give. If you feel something is wrong with yourself, don't self-diagnose, and just go talk to someone that is expert, or at least someone that you can trust.
Right. I think that's a very helpful advice, Lisa, and thank you for sharing your experience. But despite all of the limitations, as we see in the beginning, there's a video we have two of the 10 finalists of the
Mm.
Youth Sustainable Project competition who are here with us today, Cynthia and Shafira, and they both have been trying to find ways, young people across ASEAN really have been finding ways to support each other. And this is, I think, what Cynthia and Shafira are trying to do through their podcast. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Shafira.
Hi, Dian and Trisa. How are you?
I am good. How are you, Shafira and Cynthia?
We're good. I'm good. I'm
Feels so
good.
grateful to be here.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we
excited.
saw your video, but about your podcast. That's so exciting. So,
Mhm.
we should talk a little bit more about the podcast. So, can you
Sure.
tell us a little bit more about the podcast and what it's about, and what made you to started it?
Yeah, probably I could start. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I cannot imagine I was here. I'm here to share our vision through To Be Honest podcast, because it's in the beginning we're just an idea and talking with Shafira in our room, and it's
Mhm.
become a blessing to everyone right now. I feel
Yeah.
so grateful. So yeah, answering that question is how we started our podcast. Back then in the days, I went to a conference and there was a session I joined that discussed about imperfection. So the two hosts were sharing about their failure and being so vulnerable at that session. I was it's so interesting for me, because usually at that conference people were coming to see success stories and people with bunch of achievements. Of course the two women hosts are also great, but the stories they told were not ones to be proud of. One spoke about her divorce and how people look at one eye at her, and the other spoke about her insecurities because she married to a great and handsome public figure and got bullied by society, especially on social media, because of her size and appearance. And in that moment also, the host opened the floor to the audience to share their own struggles. And
Mhm.
I remember there was one man, he shared of his difficulties after losing his father, and how he suddenly took the role of family provider. Even he cried during that conversation. And another one was a woman who expressed her grief over her miscarriage. And surprisingly, at that time, the audience was appreciating them, and we encouraged one another. somehow hearing those stories simply made me feel so affected. And I think those are so powerful to me. And that moment, that spark, I started the idea of having conversation, not just talking about fancy stuff or accomplishment, but an honest and simple one. Because like we live in the social media a lot these days. We're only put see highlights of somebody's life, but then we drown in comparison, probably envy, and living in the metaverse. People say it's like that right now, right? Even though we all had bad times and the lowest point of life, we shed a tears and had a bounce back in life, and that is the real life. So until now, we are running, to be honest, season 4, which we started at February 2020. And the first and second season are in Spotify. And the third and the fourth, we're now focusing on YouTube content. Maybe later we also will upload the audio on Spotify too. But if you want to search, you can find us at YouTube channel at To Be Honest, with at and without space. And also at Spotify, you can search To Be Honest podcast with Shafira and Cynthia.
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to add, Shafira?
Well, I think, to underline what Cynthia just said, the big concept is to encourage more people that vulnerability is a new power, actually. People tend to share a story about a success story, about how being successful, about being, to get new stuff and everything, being updated in your social media. But somehow we forget about our emotions, about our feelings, about our own struggle and everything. And that's what this channel are for, to accommodate all the needs, to create a safe space for people to share their thoughts, their vulnerability. But hey, it's okay to be not okay. We are all human. We have emotions. We can have those kind of feelings. We can have bad days, but hey, after bad days, there's always a good days.
That's very good. And it's okay to have failures, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Nothing is permanent. So basically, when you have a bad day, it's okay. Tomorrow probably is a good day.
Yay.
And it's just like the title of the talk show. It's okay to not be okay, right?
Right. Yeah, so true.
Okay. Now, the lockdowns have forced all of us to shift our activities online. We work from home. People who go to school did their classes online. Everything really, everything is shifted online. So, and that certainly, like Lisa said earlier, it takes a lot of adjustments. It takes some getting used to, and it cuts us off from our environment, from our friends and families. I'd like to invite Dr. Jenny Elmaco, from one of the EU-funded program, EURAXESS, to join us in this conversation today and share her experience as she's working with lots of young researchers across ASEAN. Dr. Jenny?
Hi,
Hello.
Dian. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Trisa, I love your mind, this neuroscience things. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, actually. Something happened along the way, but it's still very, very close to me. And of course, Shafira and Cynthia, I mean, this podcast, I told you, it is already, reserved and saved, in Spotify. So very much looking forward to that. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, of course, there are a lot of challenges for students and young people, researchers and scientists. People talk about stress, anxiety. There's a lack of motivation in attending classes or doing your lab work during your research. One of the common challenges is also the access to stable, high-speed internet. There's also, of course, because universities were changing, there's a feeling of a lack of academic support and this lack of adequate resources to support online learning, because there was this big shift, from physical face-to-face classes to online learning. And so our universities were also still trying to adjust, trying to cope. There's also an economic component there. You have to purchase a new phone, a new laptop, because the internet cafes were closed because of the pandemic. Like, you can't go to them. And these came at a very, very significant cost. The pandemic also has cost, has lost, talk about lost opportunities, in the job market, or maybe about internships and events that could really, push also your career, some difficulties in completing their research projects. One also of the most important things that the pandemic has exacerbated is, this multiple burdens that young people also do. So you have students who are parents or are guardians to a child, or a caregiver for a family member. So balancing all these responsibilities, it takes a toll. Of course, fear, every one of us, we were immobilized by fear, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. This fear of infection, fearing the loss of people close to us, and unfortunately, several of us also got infected, or or as people close to us were infected as well, and some of us also lost people along the way. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things, but I think that one of the most challenging is really the loss of connection. We are social beings after all. I mean, of course, we have social media, but as I think Cynthia was saying, is it's a very curated life, right, in social media. So this vulnerability that Shafira was saying, this is the thing, and that the imperfections in our life, that's really what connects us, so much more in a deeper level. Also, we were collectively grieving, and I think we still are to a certain extent. We are grieving lost time, lost opportunities, lost friendships. So young people have this collective sorrow of losing also their sense of self, or losing this process of building their identity, and also interrupting this growth that they have in many ways.
Thank you, Dr. Jen. That was like, you've just described, you brought us back to like the beginning of the pandemic. I remember the feeling of fear of like, not sure, like, what to do. So we have this Mentimeter, like we want to hear how has the pandemic impacted your mental well-being. So if you can just like, do you think that the pandemic has impacted your mental well-being or not? It's a quick yes or no answer. So you can just click on the Mentimeter tab on the right-hand side of your screen. You can do that. While you do that, I would like to bring the question back to like to Trisa. I'm interested in knowing, like, when we feel all this, like when we feel the isolation that comes with the pandemic, I think that's one of the biggest thing. We've never experienced it before. Like we've never had it, like in our generation has never been put inside the house in a complete lockdown, not being able to connect. And yes, we do have technology to connect with others. We connect through Zoom. We move everything online and virtually. But is it different, Trisa? Like, from a neuroscience perspective, how is it different connecting via the different online avenues that we have with connecting in person?
So even though our brain is not like pre-wired for as a social being, but over generations, and especially when you grew up in a house, you meet your parents and stuff. So then we created we became part of the social structure, right? And so social, and also we as human, like before pandemic, we see people in 3D, correct? And then for like a year or two, we see people in 2D. So that is very a big difference. And also when you see people in person, when you talk to them, you can sense, their smell. You can really touch them. So those physical aspects is missing, and that is affecting our brain as well. Like there's a study about social isolation and the brain health, and it says social isolation is linked to lower brain volume, so the brain will get smaller in areas related to cognition and higher risk of dementia. And also the fun, not the fun, the good thing, or the amazing part of the brain, because brain has neurons, right? They have this like finger like tree like. So if one neuron doesn't connect with another neuron, this neuron will die. So that shows that, I mean, that can replicate, or that can be a good analogy, like social interaction is so important, because even neuron, if we don't use them, if they don't get any activation from other neurons, they will die. So probably that's why the brain volume will get smaller, because a lot of neurons are dead. Yeah. So
That is frightening.
it is
For the
frightening.
last,
It is frightening because
That
like
is so
with,
scary.
for
yeah,
people, we lose our brain cells.
yeah, like the because we our neurons just die. And also in our brain, the brain will do, they self clean. It's called pruning. So if some neurons or cells is not used, it will be, just like go to bin. So when it's gone, it's gone. So then we have to rebuild it. But the good thing about the brain is, especially if you have still like considerably healthy brain, you can create new connections. It's called neuroplasticity. So like just when you are learning new languages or you are learning new skills, you build those new connections. So that's why it's also important. I mean, like when during the pandemic, there's a lot of advices. Oh, try do different things, try learn new stuff. It really helps to keep your brain healthy and keeps functioning.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's shocking new
That's
information for me.
interesting.
I didn't know
Right.
about you, Dr.
Oh
Jen or
my
Cynthia.
God.
Yeah,
You've heard this before,
yeah,
This is
yeah.
like
but
That's why
insightful.
I always try to keep my brain active, as much as I can. And I think it's really important to find connections, and also to find like stimuli, like that's why if you notice people, they have candles in the house because the senses really awaken them, and then it invigorizes them as well. For people it's music, and
Yeah.
different kinds of music. Some people feel calm, listening to classical music, but some people feel calmer as well if they have, much more heavy metal music. I mean, it's the way you are wired, also. So that's for me, it's always very important to remind ourselves these things,
Yeah.
keeping ourselves active, and keeping our mind active as well.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Oh,
also
that's
it's
scary.
our brain is very sensitive to human face. So even though we are seeing like only 2Ds, it still gives us that stimuli that, oh yeah, there's people out there. We're still talking to them even though it's 2D. Our brain is so sensitive to faces. Also, that's why we are so sensitive to judgment from other people. You see, if you see other
Ah,
girl like frowning,
Yeah,
like oh, is
right.
is that person looking at me or not? So
Hmm.
Ah, okay. That's explained
yeah,
because
yeah,
sometimes people do judge people,
yeah,
right?
because you think, oh, maybe that person is judging me, but probably not. Maybe he's just a
Mm.
frowning for no reason, right?
Ah,
Then because
or
we're
we can easily get distracted by something more visual, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
of that.
yeah,
Okay,
especially like
okay. That
for
makes
people
sense.
with
That makes sense.
high anxiety level, they
Ah,
are
okay.
more sensitive to like angry faces.
Right, right, right.
So because
All the
anxiety is fear related emotion. So when you see
okay.
like angry faces, they'll be like, oh, probably that person is angry to me, or maybe I did something wrong, blah blah blah. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm. Okay.
now I have a question
Nice.
actually, Dr. Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
you recently participated as a speaker. This is a very
Mhm,
interesting workshop about finding the balance between
mhm,
being mindful and loving with being driven, ambitious, assertive, and confident. Can
mhm.
you define that balance?
You see, I don't really think these two things necessarily cancel each other out. I think what is most important, and actually what we learned the hard way, during the pandemic, is knowing what is really important in our lives. What do we value? What should we
Mm-hmm.
prioritize? It reminds me of, this poem by a favorite of mine, Mary Oliver. She posed this question in one of her poems: what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So, again, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So, it is critical for us to remember and focus on what matters,
Mm-hmm.
who matters. So, being busy is not the same as being productive. It also is not a badge of honor. So, let's ask ourselves also, what is our purpose? and making progress towards the goals that serve our purpose. So, and I always say this: we definitely have to be kinder to ourselves. We have our off moments. We have moments where we are so gung ho. We're gonna do this. There are moments when we step back, and I think both are okay. These moments of like um, different different going very very high or going very like maybe in calculated steps as well. These are all fine. This is part of a process. I just think we should take care of ourselves more and understand ourselves a little bit more than ever, I would say, especially after the pandemic.
Mhm. That's very interesting,
Nice.
Dr. Jen. I would like to ask, ask our audience again now with the to fill out the Mentimeter question. Like you talk about, did you ever experience your anxiety? If the feeling of loneliness that we talked about earlier has also been felt by our audiences, so please fill that out. And then moving back, there are a couple points that I take from your answer, Dr. Chen, from what you're telling us, that busy is not the same thing as being productive. And the need for us to be kinder to ourselves, to show compassion towards ourselves. And the very big $1 million question: what do we want to do with our one wild life? I
Wow.
think, yeah, that's a very powerful question.
Right.
I think I saw one of the podcasts from Cynthia and Shafira's channel, like, to be honest, that you guys also talk about this, that busy is not the same as being productive. And
So
you,
true.
is that, you want to tell us more about this episode?
Right. It's this episode is called Mindful Productivity. One of our guests is a woman. She is very successful in the office. It's like one of the board of the Pertamina, one of the oil company in Indonesia, and she is succeeded to implement the work-life balance in the office and to create a very healthy culture in the office. And we thought it's really important to have those kind of things like being mindful and productivity is we think that is ideal to be aligned, which turns out to be ideally applied in everyday life, so that wherever we are, we can stay focused and not carried away by the flow that can make us quote unquote lost in busyness or in a busy life and everything with the hustle, without knowing the purpose. Like what Dr. Jen has said, we have to be concerned about who we are as a human being, that we are playing in so much role as a person, not just me as a child, not me as a worker, not Dr. Jen as a doctor or a speaker, or Dian as a moderator, or Trisa as a neurologist or something like that. But we have to be, our guests share about her thoughts that balance is the most important thing to apply in everyday level, in a daily basis, something like that. And turns out that episode, one of the best episode, I think,
Yeah.
have so much repost in social media, and we are so happy doing that episode. We're so
Yes.
glad to have
Yeah.
her to be in our show.
And one insight that really made me remember about being mindful is not about being busy, but it's
Right.
about usefulness and impact. How we could make the usefulness to others and be impactful to other. That is the mindful productivity.
Yeah, I mean that really makes sense. But also, after the pandemic, we have since a lot of us working from home, it's very hard to set the boundaries between work
True.
life and personal
Yeah,
life. So it's
boundaries.
so hard to find the balance. Like, oh yeah, so like a lot of people found themselves like stuck in this work mentality. Like, oh yeah, I have a lot of things to do. I still can do work, but then they
Yeah.
forgot they have also personal life. So I can understand why that episode is very popular, because
Yeah.
some people are struggling with their
True.
life.
Yeah, and Bu Indira, our guest, is also
Yeah.
mentioned about to find a balance means that we have to find ourselves, because we cannot find if we don't find. We cannot be fine if we don't find. So dig deeper to ourselves, to get to know ourselves better. So we are more able to understand and to set the balance itself, and to set the boundary is really important, especially for young generation, and first jobber is really hard in a hustle world, especially live in Jakarta, and to live in a two kind of world, live and social media. It's so hard to keep it balanced. And Bu Indira kept mentioning that she is very successful to create the culture, and the culture itself can be implemented to another division. So I think that's the impact that what she is mentioned in the episode.
Yeah, like really the pandemic has really changed our life. It caused like social, political, and economic disruption. And not to mention its effect on our mental health. That's why we have this talk show. As this is all new to us, and there are still a lot of stuff that we don't know. And so we are facing a lot of uncertainties, right, Mbak Dian?
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's also like what's causing a lot of the anxieties, which I would like to ask you, Trisa, what is happening? Like, because when you are feeling anxious, like, maybe just the simple thing, like, if you're about to do a presentation, you start feeling like your palm gets sweaty perhaps, or your heart beats a little faster. What is actually happening to us physically? A lot of people here, 41 people have said that they've experienced anxiety, and 31 people have also said that they've felt lonely during the pandemic. What's actually happening to our brain? Like, why are we physically reacting to this feeling of anxiety or the feeling of loneliness, Trisa?
Yeah, like particularly for pandemic, because at first we really don't know what this virus is. So the we don't know what it is, so we're so afraid. And then a lot of news like, oh, and a lot of people are dying, so we are afraid of everything. So we are so anxious about that. And as I said before, like anxiety is a fear related emotion, because we are so fear of death, fear of losing our family, fear of losing our job. And there's one part of the brain that's really not really, it's one of this is one of the main part of the brain that respond to anxiousness or to emotion. It's called amygdala. And when you're anxious, your amygdala will be more activated. And when that does, it will, because a lot of people see brain like as modular, right? But brain is not a modular. It's not just this part does this, that part does that. Everything is connected. So when your amygdala is more activated, it will affect everything of your brain. So that's why some people, like for me, when I'm anxious, my skin will get rashes. I get so itchy. And for some people, maybe they just don't want to eat. Some people want to eat more. So the physical response to anxiety can be different, but like what we feel and affect what we do as well. So what happening in your brain is definitely will affect everything in your whole body.
But as you said, Trisa, brain is like full of like these neuron connections and everything. So it's not a muscle. So you can we train our brain, or like can we equip it with like some mechanism or tools to cope with the stressor, both internally and externally? Is it something that we can train our brain to do? I'm just imagining someone, I'm as far as possible from science, obviously. So I'm just imagining if we go to the gym and train our muscles, can we do the same with our brain? Can we train our brain to cope?
So actually, the brain is like a muscle. That's what a lot of scientists said. So we can train our brain, and but obviously a different way. We're not going to ask our brain to lift heavy weights, but we can train our brain in a different way. Like I said, like when you learn something new, and that's how we train our brain. That's how so the brain, like the simplest analogy, brain is like a sponge. It will just absorb everything. So when you see negativity out there, you will absorb it. But if you're surrounded yourself with like positive individuals, like when you say positive, it's not everything is all good, but positive environment where you are safe, where you can talk about anything, your failures, your successes, then you will absorb it. So yeah, the brain is actually like a muscle. We can train them like by doing a lot of stuff, like even when you do exercises, usually you just do run, and then for one day you do swimming. It's not just good for your body, but you say, oh yeah, I feel good. It's different. So it's not just about the muscle. It's not about how you feel when you train your muscle, but also it's how you feel in your brain as well. Because oh wow, wait, that's something new. I have to learn this, and the brain's. I mean, it's very confusing. So one way, brain likes something very consistent, right? We like, oh yeah, we know that, but also when there's something new, oh, okay, hold on, what's that? Oh, that's interesting. So brain is like a baby, basically. It's very curious. So we can train the brain. So like, and also for people with anxiety, there's a lot of scientists. They are trying to develop like cognitive training, but it's still in an early stage. But yeah, they are working on to work on cognitive training to improve mental well-being.
So exercises do work.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like even just we walk, even like when we walk from our house to a park, and then you just change the route. That's also new stimuli to our brain. That's how we train our brain. Okay, that's another new thing. Even just what we see, like right now I see Cynthia and Shafira for the first time. It's something new for our brain, and then my brain will record it. Oh, that's Shafira's face, that's Cynthia's face, that's Dr. Jen's face, that's their voices. That's new information for my brain. So then my brain will create those neurons and then try to link it. Okay, Shafira, Dr. Jen, Cynthia, Dian. Oh, it's from ASEAN EU event. So that's how my brain will create the folder, basically.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. Dr. Jen, I would like to throw this back to you. What have you seen as the most effective coping mechanism, or like the most used and coping mechanism among the colleagues you work with, the young researchers, the young people that you work with? What has been like, the go-to coping mechanism, and what seems to be most effective?
Okay, so some of the young mentees that I have, they do positive self-talk, and one of my older friends responded to this and said, "Yeah, but Jen, aren't you going to be afraid that if you talk to yourself in the mirror, they might answer back, But like, but it's actually a nice process, of talking to yourself, finding areas in like asking yourself, what are you proud of, and how great you are. I think it's nice, especially when you wake up in the morning. You do positive, self affirmation in the morning. For a lot of people that works. One thing though, for especially for scientists and researchers, because they're very goal oriented, right? They do a smart, specific, measurable, reasonable, and time bound goals. So it doesn't have to be so elaborate, but like, for the day, because it gives you a sense of accomplishment. So for example, for the day, I'm going to finish, let's say, one page of my paper. And then at the end of the day, you tick that box. It gives you this gratification that you succeeded on something. It's the same thing as with something mundane, as let's say, like, I'm going to do the laundry very well today. and because I do that, because I put it off, because I travel so much. At least that's my excuse. So when I actually do it, I put a check box and I'm like, yes. When I'm folding it, so folding my laundry, it makes me feel better. I think also that my brain, and connecting to what was said earlier, I see the brain as a network, and in the same way that we Marie Kondo our houses, to bring back joy, you to choose those that spark joy. I think it's also important that we declutter our brain to make sure that the spaces that are filled and that works for us are those that spark joy. And I think that's we have to do a lot more of that. And finally, what I learned recently, that I'm also trying to, actually, even young people are doing this quite effectively, is that they do a mind spa. It's But if you go to a spa to relax, right, you get a massage, you do that. It's also important to cleanse and calm your mind. So basically, like a mind spa. And increasingly, I see this that young people, young scientists and researchers, do this. They just they detach and disconnect. Generation Z, especially, they're super connected. I think they're connected for 9 hours, even more a day. And and to answer your question, Dian, earlier on, like it's nice that you see a lot of things on social media, and there's a lot of content that you can learn from. But it's also important to to make sure that um, TikTok is not therapy. Like we have to be careful about that. If you really are scared about your mental health, then you please talk to a professional, health professional about this. I think TikTok is very important because it shows that we are not alone. There's the sense of community, and as I said, it's a very very good learning tool as well. But I think we have to be a bit more cautious too, because then we say, oh, I saw it on TikTok and therefore it's like this. So we tend to, as you said, Dian, earlier on, to self-diagnose, and sometimes that's dangerous. So yeah, so I think setting smart goals is very important. Having routines also is very important. Grounding is also very important because things shock us sometimes. Things that are new, for example, things that we are afraid of. So if we find the moment just to stop, and find this, be mindful about your surroundings and see where you are, and maybe naming things around you, what you can feel, what you can touch, what you can smell, just to be in that moment before you react, then that would make it better for you day by day, to go about with what you plan to do.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Jen. I mean, Trisa earlier also shared, like, at the beginning of the pandemic, he was just doing his master degree, and it was, but Trisa found solace in the counseling, right, Trisa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, luckily here it's very easy to access mental health services. So I'm so lucky. But I guess for young people in a lot of Southeast Asian countries, at least in Indonesia, as much as I know, it's not very accessible. I guess not many is as accessible as here in the UK. So that's something that we need to work on, I guess, to provide accessible mental health for everyone. But if you cannot access it, or maybe you can you just want to know, is there someone else experiencing what I am experiencing? One of the way is, you can watch and listen to be honest podcast. but
Oh,
literally, no, but
Yay!
honestly, I've been stalking your videos, and it's
yes.
so fun to watch and to listen to. I mean, it's just literally you just listening to your friends talking to other friends. So and the conversation is very inclusive. So even though I'm here watching it, but okay, yeah, I'm agree with Cynthia, yeah, oh, you go girl, and then Shafira, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
point. So it's so fun to watch your discussion. And I guess your podcast is trying to offer different perspective on things
Yes.
and discuss some issues that in a way that young people can relate to, I guess,
Yeah.
with your delivery, with how you ask your guest, and with the guest that you invited. And like there's topic about like anger management, or even
Right.
Mm.
toxic masculinity. That's so cool. And uh, so I know you already mentioned that one of the most popular episode is about mindful productivity, but is there any other episode that's quite popular as well?
Yeah. So actually, Shavira have said about the mindful productivity is the first most viewed, and the second most viewed is the first episode that we upload at YouTube. The title is "Men versus Women: Girls' Social Status Above Boys. Is it ideal to be a couple?" So yeah, it's very interesting because I think it's relate to a lot of people too. So We invited our couple friends. So the woman is coming from doctor's family, like the grandfather and the grandchildren, all doctors, and they also have great reputation in their city. The man is coming from simple family and still cultivates career as a spring bat sales worker. So they dated for like 3 years until they got married. But the story was interesting because they share while dated, the woman's parents are so against because they think they provide all good facilities to make their daughter live comfortably, and they doubt if the guy can give it too. So, how if the social economic difference between them could make a big conflict someday if they got married like that? And they share how they adjust between that difference and how the man builds his confidence and then win his parents-in-law hearts at finally. And they share also about their value, about seeing money,
Yeah.
relationship, communication, and it's so interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of people I think relate to that story.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the most favorite episode as well.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty
Especially perhaps
challenging.
here in Southeast Asia, right?
Right.
Like where it's
Exactly.
still
Yeah.
the understanding
Exactly.
or like the norm is like, the man needs to be the head of the family, need to be the one
Yeah.
that provides for the family.
Yeah.
So what will happen if the tables turned? That's
Yeah.
very
Exactly.
interesting.
Right.
Wow.
And we also want to point that talking about like a financial things, like the financial between men and women, it's normal to talk about that. Let's
Yes. Very important.
normalize that and let's
Yes.
make less attached with the money itself, but how to make the relationship works. And they did it. So I think hopefully it can really it can make a good inspiration for people who watch the episode.
I
Yeah.
would like to point out a little bit. Like I would like to ask our audience, like, one of the questions in the Mentimeter that we put out was we are asking, like, what do people worry about the most? And like it's about the future. And
Yeah.
secondly, then it's about work. And I think it goes back to what Trisa is saying earlier about, like, and also the ambassador talks about the uncertainty that the pandemic brings. Suddenly you realize that you can't plan anything, right? You can have all this meticulous plan, and then suddenly, just like that, everything changed, everything shifts. And there's a question here as well from the audience, from Tran Hui Hund, who asked, like, what do you think? How has the pandemic affected the feelings of family members with each other? I think it comes with, like, suddenly you're being isolated together, especially, like, you're staying in close quarters, intense connection, over connected. So if we talk about, like, lack of connection, then we have, like, overly connected with some members of the family. Perhaps Cynthia or Shafira, you want to share your experience or your thoughts?
Yeah, I in my experience, the pandemic has taught me and my family, especially the about the process of knowing ourselves better, about knowing our families better, and in the process, a long way, we find out that we have so much traumas. It caused a lot of troubles as a adult, and how we cope to each other, and how we dealt with the trauma itself. But none of us in family members is brave enough to share the trauma that we had. And then I think I was the one who are aware about that earlier, compared to my moms and my sisters. And then I reach out helps. I go to therapists, and my therapist said that if you want to break the cycles of trauma, you have to do it by yourself. I mean, to dig deeper to yourself, and then you can redo it by like probably like what Trisa explained to us about what happened to our about our brain. And that's what we do. That's what I do with my family. We are feeling so anxiety. We felt anxiety for sure, feeling insecure and confused. We scared, but at the same time, we felt like when these things are going to end. But in the end, no, it's not going to be end soon. But I think we are living in a new life, in our new perspective about to accept things that uncertain.
How
So
about
no
sorry?
need to be certain all the time. Uncertainty can bring certainty, something like that. So
And to
yeah,
live in the
something like
moment, I guess.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To live in the moment, live in the pandemic, to wear a mask all the time, to get vaccinated, to get booster, to not allow to be out, and then we finally deal with our trauma. So I think so I can get to know my mom's better, my sisters better. We can communicate better, and I think it's almost 2.5 years. We know that we already set our intentions better now.
How
Yeah.
about you, Cynthia? Do you have any what's your experience during the lockdown with the family?
So actually, well, family, I'm away from my family. They are in another city, so I live alone in Jakarta. But uh, talking about the process in pandemic itself for me, despite I was isolated in my own room, I think I found myself way better than before, surprisingly, in pandemic session, because so many times to contemplate my inner self, and I try to recalibrate my goals in life. I questioning myself more. I find myself enjoying being alone, surprisingly, where basically I'm a very extrovert person. Like, I can be so empty if I'm not meeting anyone in a day way before. So yeah, surprisingly I survived, and I realized that I've been too busy until it's a time to rest and have slower pace. And it's good though, I think, to take a chill sometimes for a person like me, like in a hustle culture. But the other story is pandemic. It's not the COVID itself for me, but my lowest point of life happened during this time. For reason 2 years, I had experienced my mom got cancer, and she's still surviving right now. And I got a pay cut at work. I think so many people also experienced that during the pandemic. And then I tried a new job but failed. And until the end, it taught me to stay hopeful and still have faith. And yeah, to be honest, this pandemic season was where I cried the most,
Yeah.
being fragile than before, and being the lowest at my stage, but also learning to give myself a space for every feeling that appear. Because like every emotion are valid, like we talked before. But then I learned also to process all that happened and still manage the right response. Do I have to angry? Do I have to express this or that? And so I think pandemic was the situation where we cannot control what happened outside, but the chance to shape our inner being, like our mind and our heart. And yeah, thank God everything gets better today, and I'm being stronger, I think, as a
Yeah.
human being, being more fragile and being humble and honest, because I used to suppress my feeling. And I realize it when I'm being alone and question myself much, like Dr. Jen said about self-talk. Yes, I do a lot with myself. And yeah, I believe that testing of our life produces perseverance and resilience.
Yeah, and she finally reached out to the counselor as well. She did the
Yes,
therapist as well.
at the first time, yes, but I didn't tell my mom.
Exactly. Right.
I got worried, still.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think that's also that's very relatable to a lot of people. The pandemic, I mean, it's hard, but also it taught us to be how to be resilient,
Hmm.
and also to really accept your feelings,
Exactly. Right.
and also to just embrace it. If you're sad,
Yeah.
just be sad for a while. You don't have to be happy
Right.
all the time.
Yeah.
That's weird though. If you're always happy, like, what are you? And also, if you're angry with the situation, just be angry with it.
Yeah.
I think it's we've been taught that, what, being angry or show negative emotion is not good, it's not acceptable. But
Yeah.
then it's also but also we need to express them for us to be healthy. But
Yeah.
then, after we cry, and then, okay, I'm fine now. So I mean, that's at least in my experience. Like, oh, you know what? I feel bad. I just put on, some sappy movie that I cry and oh yeah, I feel better now.
I
or I
do
just
that.
or I just talk to someone. Oh, I feel so bad right now, and then that's it, and that's done.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are too busy in your head that you forget actually what you're experiencing. I mean, actually, you are strong enough to face it. You just probably because you're scared because it's not
True.
something new. But then you realize, oh, actually, I am super strong. I can face this all by myself. Like I live, like for example, like Cynthia, I live in Jakarta all by myself, and I have these issues with my mom's health and everything. But then I can survive. So
Yeah.
it really a moment of realization as well, I guess, for a lot of people.
True.
I think it's also like, in contrary of being like, like some people found during the pandemic that they are having to interact more than usual with their family members, like what Shafira experienced. And then it kind of like, gives you that opportunity and probably also frictions, like, when you are suddenly becoming so close. But also on
Right.
the other hand, like we also see what Cynthia and Trisa also probably experienced being away from family. And suddenly you don't have that option of just coming home whenever you want to, right? Because you probably have been away from them, like, for a while, and it was okay because there is that option of coming home and seeing them whenever you want.
Yeah,
And then
Yes.
So
suddenly
true.
you're told no,
It's
yeah,
like
So,
more
Yeah.
valued every hello and every goodbyes. Ooh.
Yeah.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's it. I guess, you have this newfound maybe appreciation of family. Do you find that, Lisa, with you?
Yeah, I do. Like, I really appreciate even just going to the grocery store. Like, I really miss it. Like, because like for 2 months we're not allowed to go there, so everything has to be done online. So like, oh, I miss going to grocery store. I miss touching oranges and apples, and then choose which one do I want. Or just saying hi to the security guy, like, hey, and then it's all gone. It's just weird. But also to add to another question, that's how to get back from feeling down. That's from Suksavan. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name. Yeah, from that person. Uh, I think you just have to step back and then just to evaluate your feelings. Like, so I feel this I feel this. My emotions is valid, but why do I feel this? And is my response correct? So it's just like just question yourself, but not too hard, but just to stay logical. Okay, now I'm feeling so bad, but why do I feel this way? And is there anything that I can do to not feel this way anymore? So instead of focusing, oh, I feel so bad, I feel so sad because of this, but then try to see on the other hand. So okay, if I feel this way, is there any way that I can to fix myself, or just coping strategies to make myself feel better? And also there's a research, there's a study done by a mental health charity here in the UK in 2021. It says young people, they are struggle the most, and they don't have and often they use like negative coping strategies like self-harm or like substance abuse during the pandemic. So we really need to get the information out there for young people that you can get help, and you should get help if you need to, and where to go.
Yeah. I would like to tap into that, Lisa, tap into your neuroscience again. You said earlier, how exercise do help us, as part of a coping mechanism. And so we asked the audience, like, how
Mhm,
many times do the audience exercise in a week? And
mhm,
most is once a week, and some like 3 times a week. And obviously, there's also like some people who never do in a week. But how is this influencing, chemically, or our neurons, our brains, in making us feel better? And besides exercise, is there anything else? Or people, sometimes I hear people suggest meditation, for example. How is it affecting us physically, Lisa?
so for there's no one size fits all kind of thing in terms of someone's well-being. For some people, meditation works. For some people, exercising works better. So it's a matter of trying out different coping strategies before you find one. Because I know, like on social media, there's a lot of like mindful guru, like, oh, this is the best way. Probably it's best way for some people, but maybe not for others. And also, like, do this exercise to make you feel better, but maybe it works for you but not for everyone. But just this is well, the thing with our brain, it's so complex, so we don't really know how it works. So we're still in early stage. Like, even for depression, some people antidepressant can help people with depression. Some people said cognitive behavioral therapy can help, but for some people those drugs, they don't work at all. But for some people it works. So it's very we have to see the individual differences between them. But in terms of exercise, there's a lot of studies that showed that exercise have a positive impact on mental health and for neurodegenerative diseases. We can see that exercise training could be beneficial because neurotransmitter and neurotrophic. I don't want to get to it, but basically the chemical substances in the brain are synthesized to respond to physical exertion. So these factors could delay in of the progression of neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer, and dementia. So exercise is very, very good, but it's not just for people who are having mental health issues or mental disorder, but to everyone, to protect your brain. It's for your brain resiliency, to protect your brain from dementia and from other mental health issues.
But maybe just about finding what works for everyone.
Yeah,
Because
you really need to find what works for you. Like for me, for some, oh, running is really good to clearing your head. For me, no, running is so boring for me. And then I just have to find other workout exercises that works for yourself. Or even like meditation. If meditation works for you, then good. Maybe yoga but it we still have to emphasize good diet as well, because what you eat really affect how you feel, like mentally and physically. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on when you are talking about mental health. It's just not about your head.
how about sleeping, Trisa? What is
Oh,
how does
sleeping.
sleep affect our brains and our mental health?
Sleeping is so important. I cannot stress this enough. Sleeping is so important. We should get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. And I have to emphasize every night. So you cannot, let's just say, oh yeah, I sleep seven hours a day, 1 hour during the afternoon and 6 hours at night. No, you have to sleep 7 to 9 hours in one go, in one night. So having naps is good, but just limited to maximum 30 minutes. And also, about sleep and mental health issues, it's like a vicious cycle. If you don't get enough help, enough sleep, then you will have less concentration, and then it will affect your mood as well. And when your mood is affected, your productivity is affected, and then you are stressed. When you are stressed, your sleep is also disturbed, and then it's just going to be a whole cycle. So one thing that we can do, if one thing that we can control is the amount of sleep and the quality of sleep. It's not just the amount of sleep. Like when we're talking about quality of sleep, is make sure you have the right mattress, very comfortable mattress, a comfortable pillow to support your neck and your head, and also the temperature, the clothes that you're wearing. There's a lot of factors that can that affect your quality of sleep.
Dr. Jen, are you getting enough sleep with all your travels?
Um, I want to say yes, but I'll be lying. So no. But I really try, because it's not, sleep is not something that you can catch up on. Like you can't say, I mean, not in the way that we understand it, because some of us would say, "Oh, I'm not gonna sleep, 8 hours right now, but over the weekend I'm gonna sleep for like 12 hours."
That's
It's not
support, yeah.
work that way, and of course there's certain things in our brain that get produced at certain times. So
Yeah.
you have to sleep at the right time too. So I really get that quality sleep is very, very important. So I'm trying to be better in that aspect, actually.
So, Dr. Jed, like there's an interesting comment from our audience here from Akila.
Mm.
She says, like, the strangest sensation is figuring out how to recreate the bond we had with everyone before COVID-19. I suppose that during our self isolation, we lose our ability to interact socially and emotionally with everyone. Do you find that with the mentees you work with as well?
Yeah, it's like what I said earlier today. We lost this connection, and that is why a lot of us grieve, and we still continue to grieve. So and also we are relearning. There are things that we have forgotten already in how to communicate, like on especially face to face, because we got used to like communicating this way. But there are certain things that when we communicate that on a face to face level that are actually important, right? The context clues, which is so much more, over 90% of what it's more than what we say. What we say is spoken, the verbal thing, very, very limited. But how we are, our how we use our hands, how we look, even the little, maybe when we sweat or the crinkle in our eyes, I think who was that who said that when you have to smile with your eyes, these things. It's we lost that. So I think this is also this continuous challenge to regain that. How do you connect, and how can you connect better? And where are we now? Like after the experience of the pandemic, that was like, it was over 2 years, but it felt like a decade, and we lost so much during that time. So to relearn, to rebuild again, to reframe. I like this term. I'm sure you probably encounter this. This cognitive reframing. Because there are things that we've lost control of. One of the things that we lost during the pandemic is choice, even about choosing to. I'm an ambivert, and like Cynthia, I'm an ambivert. So I have moments where I'm like, I want to meet people, but then there are moments is like, I just want to hide in a room and then not talk to
Me too.
anyone. But
We're the
of course,
same.
yours the same, because
Yeah.
with the pandemic, you lose this, right? You lose choice. Many different ways you lose choice. So to take back that choice and to locate yourself in spaces where, okay, I have control over this. It's important to regain this cognitive, reframing of what you can and cannot control, the feelings that you have, taking charge of your actions, and of course also reactions. That's something that we all have to do, on our individual way, in our individual journeys, but also as part of a community. And yeah, I'm an eternal optimist. I think we are going for better days, and
Oh,
we will be stronger as a community because of this. And I hope that we learn, and also things that we need to unlearn as well. We have to do. During the pandemic, I lost my dad.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry to hear
Sorry
that.
to
yeah,
hear that.
my mom and my dad contracted COVID at the same time. They were
Mm.
they contracted at the same time, but they were in different hospitals. So my daughter and I had to come back home, shuttle from one place to the other. But it's not like you can take care of them because they're isolated, right? So you just have your screens. And then unfortunately, my dad succumbed to COVID. My mom was still battling it at that time. So for the first time in my life, I lied to my mom. So
Hmm.
that's a huge value shift, because you're taught, especially for Asians, you don't lie to your parents.
Yeah.
But this is a matter of, life and death. I was thinking, if I don't lie to my mom, she might say, okay, I'm going to go with your dad.
Yeah.
So it took 2 weeks for me to tell her, Mom, I'm very, very sorry that I lied to you, but I had to, because otherwise you would be with her. So there's a lot of things that each one of us, had to experience during the pandemic. And it made us braver. I think it made us, more courageous. It made us appreciate ourselves more and each other. But the journey is long. So I hope that as we continue, we don't forget the lessons along the way.
Exactly. So true.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jen, for sharing your story. And it's like, and also to Cynthia and Shafira and Trisa, you guys have shared like, really personal stories about how we all experienced the pandemic differently. And also to our audience for sharing like, their feelings and also, the struggles that everyone is facing. And we can see like both from the Mentimeter and also from the comments that everyone has different experiences and see things from different perspectives. Now, bringing it to a lighter side of things, what are we going to do, Trisa?
We're going to play some games with all the audience. Woohoo!
All right, so we're gonna do the famous Kahoot quizzes. So that's how you join. You can click as well and hop in as well. There's a tab for Kahoot. Enter the game pin. We are waiting for you.
You
And
can
as
go
always,
to www.kahoot.it or just scan the barcode using your phone if you are watching the show from your laptop.
yeah.
So we're still waiting. Well, I'm excited to see the questions. Which date, to be honest, post podcast was aired with topic about toxic
Oh my
masculinity?
gosh,
Imagine.
I didn't expect this to be a history. This is going to be difficult.
We're still
Yeah, what
waiting.
a nice platform, Dian. Thank you so much for this. This is something that, we need to have more of, these conversations. And I have to say, the young generation, the youth of this generation, I think they're very open, and I think that's really great. We learn from them as well. Especially about mental health. You're much more in tune about your feelings than us.
Yeah.
That's
Especially
really
like the Gen Z, they really
exactly.
they're very I think confident or brave enough to share their stories. I mean, some stories can be I mean, a lot of TikTokers they caught lying, about their conditions, but also at least it sparks the discussion. So
Absolutely.
about what issues, about even about lying, about mental health issues. So there's always good side and bad side. But yeah, I think now like young generation, they really talk, you know what, I feel sad, I feel depressed. Like in my day, I wouldn't say I'm sad, and that'll be, it's just like showing your weakness. So you know what, I feel sad now. Like, I never told anyone that I feel sad as far as
Yeah.
I was a teenager.
And what I love also about this generation is that, they are becoming to be very creative leaders. The brand of leadership that they create it's incredible, and I think it makes you really hope. I mean, it gets me really excited about the future that we will have, because there's a lot of ideas, but there's also a lot of sharing. It's not anymore about like, I own this is my idea, but this is like, oh, what do you think about this idea? And then you're sharing to each other. So it's really great. You guys, you young people here, you have learned how to step back, to make space, to have a spotlight on others. This is the kind of leadership that you're espousing, and I'm a fan. I'm really a fan.
Yeah, they're also very inclusive as well.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I just want to invite to start the game. Sorry to cut.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready, everyone? Let's start. First question.
Kahoot at work.
Trisa?
6th EU-ASEAN Youth Talk Show, ASEAN Youth Post-COVID-19, Mental Health and Resilience.
Ready? And here we go.
Here's the first question. How many EU member states are there?
Come on, come on.
Tricky. You can't train your brain. One of the
Remember, the UK is no longer part of the EU.
yeah.
So if you're Googling this, make sure you get the latest information.
Yeah, you need to get the latest information. Make sure you get it from 2021 or 2022.
Yay.
I'm sure everybody will get it right.
Ta-da!
27.
27.
Yeah, not
What is
bad.
health paper? Oh, rapid poster.
Rapid
Rapid
question.
possum. Good
Wow.
job. Okay.
Yay.
True or false
Okay, true or
question?
false?
Oh,
2023 is the European Year of Youth and the Year
should
of
have
Youth in
listened.
ASEAN. True or false?
Should have listened to Ambassador Igor earlier.
Yeah,
This.
Yeah.
it's easy. This one is easy.
Yeah.
Okay, the answer by take a look at the picture, I think.
Cheat sheet.
You just
Shafira,
have
don't
to
share it.
click.
Please.
Yeah, I know. That's a clue, right? Sorry.
All right. Yeah, I think most of you got it right.
Ooh,
Oh, we
lucky
have a
Raven.
change.
Oh, lucky Raven.
Next one. Which of the following is an EU-funded program that focuses on well-being and mental health
Oh,
within
okay.
academia?
You remember?
Researcher Mental Health Observatory, REMO, and Cost Action, EURAXESS, Erasmus Mundus or Erasmus Plus, and EU-ASEAN Art Therapy.
Ooh, this is tricky.
Yes.
And EURAXESS is where Dr. Jen works. So
But you have to listen. If you listen,
So the template of Dr. Jen's name, then. Oh, I give another clue. I'm sorry.
Shafira is too kind.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
Lucky Raven is still on
Like
top.
Raven again.
Nice.
What does mundus mean?
Oh, I love it.
What's mundus? People, world, society, or nature?
Please apply for Erasmus Mundus. Ask me questions. I'm an alumna as well. So
So there you go.
That's the clue, literally on the screen. 10 seconds left.
Alright.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the answer is
Ta-da-da!
world.
That was good.
Oh, lucky Raven is leading.
Lucky Raven is
Wow.
staying.
How many golden stars make up the circle in the European Union flag? Okay, let's
It's
count.
There you go, count it.
in front of
Just
you.
count
Count
it. Can we zoom in the pictures?
Yeah, how many are there?
We can zoom in the screen.
Yeah, yeah. Count it.
12. No?
Mm,
9.
I don't know.
18?
12.
No, 18, 12. Or 11.
9.
9.
Oh.
19.
12.
Oh,
12.
12.
Oh, 12. Oh, yeah. Woohoo.
19 people
Raven.
answered it. Lucky Raven,
Ah,
you're still
okay,
on
yeah.
top.
The Solidarity Project Mental Health educates youth about mental health issues and its prevention through art therapy. True?
yeah.
or false?
Yeah. This is great. Art therapy is a great program. We did that after the Typhoon Haiyan. For the survivors of Typhoon Haiyan, we did it for teachers, and then they did it for their students as well. So
I remember I bought the painting by numbers as one of my
that's
method
good.
of therapy.
That's good.
Yeah.
We did the mandala, this the mandala thing.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
And the answer is true.
Of course. Yay.
Oh, lucky Raven. Wow.
You're so
on fire.
lucky.
Yeah.
You are on fire. You are on
Yes.
fire.
In 1977, ASEAN and the
Okay.
EU began a partner dialogue. This year, ASEAN and the EU celebrate blank years of dialogue relations.
Yes. If you have it already, you have like these really excellent videos that were produced, of the profiles of the people who are really important in this topic.
Ooh, so is it 40, 45, 50, or 55? Let's see the answer in 3 seconds. And here it is.
Ta-da!
5. Ah, wow. Lucky Raven again.
Wow!
Lucky Raven is still leading.
Unbeatable.
Yeah, I know. What is the name of the podcast created by Cynthia and Shafira to raise awareness of mental health for youth?
Yes,
To be
available on
honest.
Spotify
It's to be
and
honest. That's the answer. I'm giving that one. It's to be honest. Don't you dare
Oh,
choose
could
another
you?
option. It's to be honest.
Come on.
Green.
now we have
Okay,
to
just-
have
Just to make
punishment.
it easy, just choose the green
Now you
one.
have to
Yeah,
sing.
just choose the green one. And don't forget to
That's
subscribe
very
on
obvious.
YouTube, okay?
All of those are good.
Oh no,
Oh no.
you're wrong.
People don't trust me. They don't believe me.
Thank you for
One,
letting people
one.
who make a right decision.
How many official languages does the EU have? Ooh, 22, 23, 24, or 25? So I know English is one of them. French is one of them, right?
And German is one of them.
Yeah, German is one of them.
French.
French, yeah. What else? Ooh, this is hard.
Oh, it's hard. I think it's
What?
It's
four.
24.
Wow.
My other question is, do people really know or they're just guessing?
I'm sure they have.
That
learned
question from Lucky Raven. Oh.
The To Be Honest podcast with Cynthia and Shafira is a finalist in the EU-ASEAN Youth Sustainable Project YSUP. Is that true?
I love this poster.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
So nice.
Now our hair is not like that anymore.
Like a
Yeah,
square.
Different.
Cut.
So we have 5
Ah.
more seconds.
Yeah. It's matched with the poster, not the colors.
Yeah.
Yes, it's matched with the colors of the posters.
Yes, it is true.
And here is the third winner is Rockstar Lion.
Lion.
Congratulations.
Dog.
And dog. Lucky
Lucky
Raven.
Raven.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So to those to the top 3, or was it you will be contacted by the committee, by the organizer to get the EU hamper. So congratulations and thank you for participating. That is so great. And you've been getting a lot of help from the speakers today. But it's great. I think I would just like to quickly synthesize our very interesting discussion today. I think we've learned a lot from all of our speakers here today. We learned that being busy in this hustle culture, we all get this pressure to be busy. We feel guilty when we say we're not working. But being busy is not the same as being productive. There's something maybe we all need to take into account to be more mindful, like mindful productivity. If you want to hear more about that, you go ahead and listen to the podcast at To Be Honest on YouTube or Spotify. And then I think Dr. Jenny also points out this really the $1 million question: what do you want to do with your one world life? And we need to start defining ourselves beyond our work. We are not our work. And also that all of your emotion is valid. And another interesting thing I think that we also need to learn is a cognitive reframing, because everything can be seen from different perspective as well. And Trisa has also kindly shared with us his knowledge about what it actually does to our brain. when we're not connected to others, and when we're not using certain parts of our brain, we lose this connection. We actually, our body flushes it. But the good news is that we can rebuild this, right, Teresa? We can rebuild this, and we can like retrain our brain. We can train our brain to be able to be stronger, or like to have its own mechanism, to find a coping mechanism to against like the stressor, both externally and internally. And we grieve, like we have to allow ourselves to grieve. There are a lot of things that that it's okay to grieve. It's okay not to be feel okay. We grieve the loss of our connection. We grieve the loss of choices. I think that's one of the big things. And you may also have your own reasons to grieve. So it's okay not to feel happy and positive all the time. As Trisa said, it'll be weird if you are happy and positive all the time. So it's okay. It's okay to be sad, to feel down, and, maybe indulge in sad movies and cry.
Yeah.
Or, and we appreciate our connection with others as well. So with that, I would like to thank our speakers, Dr. Jan, Shafira, Cynthia, Lisa. Thank you for being here with us. Anything
Thank
you
you
want
so
to
much for
say?
sharing.
Last words you all want to share with our audience?
Yeah, for me, never allow anyone to dim your light. All of you here, you have this great shine. The world needs it. So be kind to yourself, love yourself, and I'll see you around. And when you see me, I have really bad eyesight, so please say hello to me. Please email me if you need somebody to talk to. Build your tribe, by the way. Those people who can support you, like this group, I'm sure. And yes, keep in touch.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Shafira and Cynthia, is there anything you would like to add?
For me, let's normalize talking about our vulnerability. Vulnerability is not bad at all. Vulnerability or being vulnerable is a new power. And talking about mental health, emotions, and trauma, it must be inclusive. It's mandatory for everyone.
Yeah. I think it's for me talking about resilience. Let me share a little bit of my experience. A week ago, like I had mountain climbing, so it's taught me a lot of things about resilience. Having that experience, so like long story short, I got to this my summit at the first time, and I'm proud of it. But I think during that process is very challenging, is very hard because that is my first time, and it was raining so hard, and in the middle of the night I still have to do the climbing. But I think it's like our life, isn't it? So we have certain goals, but during the process we will face challenges and barriers to get there. But yeah, even we feel tired, even drained, and unexpected things will come to our life. But it's important for us to maintain our financial goals and everything, and you feel so draining. Just want to say, don't quit, just hang on, because I heard one quote that says like, the pain is temporary but quitting lasts forever. So don't quit. Probably you just need to take a rest. It's okay if you feel like being low. Take your time. And one more thing about our quote today: it's okay not to be okay. Yes, it is, but I will add one word on it. It's okay not to be okay sometimes. You don't have to let yourself too long not being okay. You need time, it's okay, but also you need to question yourself until when you stay not okay. Get up again and be stronger.
Yay. Thank you so much, Cynthia, Shafira, and Dr. Jenny, for sharing your thoughts, your knowledge, and also your experiences. I'm so honored to be here, to be with all of you guys. And also thank you for our attendees for attending the event and for your participation as well, for your games, and then for asking questions. We really, really, really appreciate that.
Until next time. See you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care and stay healthy, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good job, everybody. Bye-bye.